our team, our community. This is Condors Town, and this is another Energy Condors connection. Now, here's Erik Fox and Ryan Holt.
Like they say, always better late than never. So welcome back to Condors Connection. My name is Erik Fox from Energy 95.3. Joined on the other side of the screen from my brother from another mother, moving from Tucson to Truxton this time. It's Ryan Holt. What's going on, my friend?
I'm good. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. It's like
All
the
right,
old Verizon commercials.
Now we're gold.
So anyways, like we said last week, we talked to him. It was the weirdest background of a hotel room I've ever seen. Like the weird 1980s mall fashion shoots, laser beam background. But I think it's a little better background as you're in your offices over there at the Mechanics Bank. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. We're getting set for a 7-game homestand, so good to be home in our own beds and making our own meals in our own kitchens. It's nice. It's been a welcome relief. We've only had I think 4 home games since November 17th or whatever. So haven't been in this place a while. We've been practicing in this place for a while, but haven't really had many games. So it'll be good to have a big homestand coming up.
We'll talk about that homestand coming up in just a little bit, just like we do with the Condors Connection. We talk with the Oilers first, the parent organization of your Bakersfield Condors. We're heading into AllStar Break. We never knew if we'd actually get there this year, but we got there. And we were talking in the past. Edmonton has had like a bit of a rough patch, but we're starting to see it turned around, aren't we?
Yeah, it's. I think if you looked at the record, as it is right now, and you kind of went to the group at the beginning of September and said, "Here's your record in February," I think probably everyone would have taken it. It was just a little bit of a roller coaster, and to how they got there, they started off so well, and then had that little bit of a dip, but now have points in 5 straight games. Evander Kane's been great for this team as an addition up front, and Zach Hyman back from injury, and it looks like they're kind of over the COVID hurdles here over the last month and a half. So they've been playing some good hockey, and won last night on national TV against Washington, which was great, and always good to win your last one before a little bit of a break. Just puts you in a better mood heading into a break. So all positive signs out of Edmonton. They're getting healthier. There's been a lot of transactions over the last couple of days. So I would imagine, in the next week, the Condors will see some additions too from Edmonton, just based off numbers. Who those additions will be remains to be seen. But they're going to have to do something in Edmonton. You can only have 23 guys on the roster actively. So that frees up 3 or 4 guys, I think, to come to Bakersfield. And, we'll wait and see what happens. Obviously, injuries and things like that happen over the course of a season. So we'll see what happens here next week. But all positive signs heading into the break.
Speaking of the All-Star break, of course, there's a chance maybe to get more of that healing up. And it's one of the weird things where normally when you go into All-Star break, it's pretty standard. Like almost all the teams have played about the same number of games. We're not seeing it this year because with the COVID has made a lot of things interesting, for lack of a better word. What are we looking at as that resting period during the All-Star break, and what are we going to be seeing coming out of it with the team?
Yeah, I think the Oilers play 8 games and 13 nights coming out of the All-Star break. So there's no more rest after this weekend. There's probably a game every day and a half, 2 days here for the Oilers down the stretch. Which is, if you're playing well, that's what you want. You don't get a lot of practice time. You just kind of throw a puck out there and get back to playing. And I think we kind of saw it with the Condors as well too, when the team had a long practice kind of schedule and stuff, and one game every 13 days. It wasn't really conducive to winning hockey games. And now you're seeing the team as the schedule gets a little more firmed up, and you start to roll off some games. You kind of get a feel for what a team actually is, and not kind of going through extenuating circumstances. So it's going to be a busy stretch for the Oilers. Down the stretch, they've got some points to make up, but they have games in hand on just about everybody. So, this is a solid team that, got more solid with Evander Kane up front and Zach Hyman. And, there's 2 of your top 7 forwards, right in the lineup that weren't there last week. And that makes a huge difference for an NHL team.
And I think it's kind of important when you look at the standings of realizing, the Oilers are playing so many games coming up. I mean, Anaheim doesn't play a game till the 11th. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got this big stretch where maybe these standings aren't necessarily showing what we're seeing on the ice right now, right?
Yeah, you kind of have to go by points percentage, I think, and, to kind of get a real idea of what the standings are out west, just because of the disparity in the games. And In the AHL, it's already set up to kind of display the standings by points percentage, which has helped, kind of navigate where teams actually are, because otherwise you'd have like a team like San Diego who's played 5 or 6 more games than us kind of be near us in the points, when really, the standings wise, they're not really that close. So you have to win your games in hand, or else, it doesn't really matter. But,
Right.
I think, by putting it by points percentage, it kind of helps you out and gets a better understanding of how good teams are.
Well, let's talk about that, the AHL and how they're built up, and let's jump over to the Condors. It's going to be a busy February for the Condors as well. But the nice thing about it is the Condors are going to be home. Let's start talking about first the last road trip, which was a three-game stand in Tucson. What were you seeing out there?
Yeah, it was a great road trip, but, kind of finished on, a mildly sour note. It's tough to beat a team 10 times in their own building straight. The Condors were going for that on Saturday and had a 2-goal lead in the third period and ended up only getting an overtime point. But, anytime you take 5 out of 6 points on the road and you take, 7 out of 8 points against a team for 4 games and 9 nights, or 4 games and 10 nights against a team, that's pretty solid. It's tough to beat a team 3 times in a row, let alone 4 times in a row in the span of 9 days. So we'll give the team a little bit of a pass on Saturday. Didn't play nearly their best hockey. We're outshot, I think, 2-1 in the game. That's not typical for a Condors team. But, that being said, Ilya Konovalov was great between the pipes. So that adds another dimension for this team. The depth and goaltending has been tested, and they've all come through. Dylan Holloway's got 5 points in 5 games. He's been, everything is advertised, I think, for a first-round pick coming in for his first week and a half in a Condors jersey. So you add in Philip Broberg this weekend, back on the blue line after he gets out of protocol here this week. That's a big addition. You got the captain, Brad Malone, back. Seth Griffith was just named January Player of the Month in the AHL. This is a team that's firing on all cylinders, and they're going to need it because Colorado comes in this weekend, as hot, if not hotter than the Condors, which is hard to believe. So this is going to be a tough test this weekend, but a little retribution. Colorado, beat the Condors twice back in December in Colorado, kind of when the Condors were shorthanded and, didn't know if we were going to actually go to Colorado. Ended up having to go day of game to Colorado. So it's going to be a good test this weekend. Should be 2 fun hockey games Friday and Saturday.
I was going to bring that up. Colorado, of course, in town this weekend. That was a rough trip back in December when you guys were out there. What differences are you seeing with both the Condors and also the Eagles as the Birds are taking the ice?
Yeah,
bird against bird.
It's a different looking Condors team, right? Like that was kind of the beginning of the COVID protocol, kind of who's in, who's out, and not knowing, if we were actually going to travel to Colorado and get on a flight. And, it was right at the beginning of kind of all of it. And we were kind of shorthanded. We were undermanned. And, we're not going to make excuses for it. But, that was the nature of the business. And Colorado's a high-flying team. They're very offensively talented. They're getting great goaltending right now, too, with Eustace down and in between the pipes. And they're firing on all cylinders. They've got points in 13 straight. They just beat San Diego Wednesday night. They have a team that, looks very much like their NHL team, and they're very good at the NHL level too, with the Avalanche. Mm-hmm. So, 2 teams that are kind of built the same way, at both levels. So the good news is for the Condors, this lineup is probably as full as we've had a lineup, all season long. Without Adam Cracknell, he's over in China at the Olympics. But other than that, the team pretty much is kind of what you'd want to roll out opening night, maybe, back in October. So for Bakersfield, it's a good thing to have that you have your full lineup, because you're going to need it against the Colorado team, which has a full lineup. And, let's face it, are a pretty good team right now.
Well, they say February is the month of love. There's a lot of love we can get to Condors Town because, you guys have had a lot of road trips, but now you guys get to hang out at home a little more. This weekend, you guys got Colorado. You got Henderson coming in. You got the rain coming in. We got Energy Night on the 16th, so everyone get hooked up with that as we have the Canucks coming down. I mean, it's quite a swath of teams coming through, but the one constant is it's all at Mechanics Bank Arena, which is so nice. Was asking you before we went live, what are the pluses of having like a long homestand like that?
Oh, it's huge. It's an opportunity for guys to not have to worry about anything but just playing hockey and showing up and being here on a game day. It's a lot easier to be at home than it is on the road. You don't have to worry about buses and planes and other people's schedules and eating in hotels and all of that other stuff that just kind of comes with being on the road. You're able to get in your same routine every day, and there's not the travel days, Friday, Saturday. Colorado's going to have to travel on Sunday to get back home. So not only is it Friday, Saturday, but it's also Sunday to travel back home. So for the Condors, it's Friday, Saturday, and you're in your own bed Saturday night. So I think it's a big benefit. I think it's a big benefit. This team hasn't been home for quite some time, and 4 home games since November. It's been a long time. So it's good to finally be home and good to be in our own beds.
Of course, how's your stomach going to hold up, because you're not going to be able to be on your food adventure as much?
I'll be all right. I do some pretty decent cooking too at home too. I'll share some of those as the weeks go on here, but a little disappointed I don't get to partake in the $2 beers all weekend either. Here in Condors Town, we get $2 beers through the end of the first intermission all weekend long. So come out and enjoy it. It's going to be a fun weekend. A couple of good crowds and some good atmospheres here for a big weekend against Colorado.
People want to check out the game. Of course, what do they do, my friend?
Condorstown.com. You can head to the box office too, but we've got some great deals at Condorstown.com and check it out. We've got 7 games coming up: Friday, Saturday, and then Monday, Wednesday, Saturday the following week. So home for 3 weekends straight. Nothing better than that, and hopefully successful homestand before we hit the road again.
I do want to bring a couple things. First of all, the 14th, you did mention that. That is Valentine's night. That is a rescheduled date. So if you were like, oh, I want to go see some hockey on Valentine's Day, bring your loved one out there, right?
Yeah, bring your date, or if you want to come solo and find a date, you can maybe do so at a Condors game too. Why not?
And, of course, got to mark down the 16th. Come out and party with myself and the rest of the Energy team, as we're going to be out there. And
Get
who
you
knows,
back on
Ryan?
the Zamboni.
Yeah, they'll get me back on the Zamboni, and you know what? Maybe I'll go invade your workspace up top too.
I like it.
All right, there's been another Energy Connection. Thank you once again for hanging out. If you joined us on the first part before we had to restart, but thank you for everyone for joining in. And Ryan, we'll do this again next week, right?
All right, man. We'll talk to you next week.
Ryan Holt from the Bakersfield Condors. My name is Erik Fox from Energy 95.3, and this has been another Energy 95.3 Condors Connection. We'll see you next time.